When I attended church, I always made a point of being there all morning from 8 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon when the last guest left because I just didn't want to miss anything, and I was always fascinated to see exactly what went down. There was always an official narrative about what officially happened, and then there were individual people's accounts of what happened, and then there's what really happened. If you wanted to find out what really happened, you needed to come to coffee hour. Welcome to Sunday Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith. Each week at Sunday Coffee Hour, we talk about practically everything and nothing. This week, we talked about the Myers Briggs personality test. We talked about how when you're in the hospital, it sometimes can be to your advantage to have a sense of humor. And we talked about how to make flour soup. The readings this Sunday were about how Christ is the chief cornerstone, and the gospel reading was the story of Zacharias, who came down out of the tree and changed his ways and decided to fill out his pledge form and support the church. This was always a terrific passage during this time of stewardship. At Washington National Cathedral, they continued on with their sermon series about how we should be loving and kind and show mercy and seek justice as we move into the midterm election season. It's been a challenging sermon series at Washington National, and Jan Cope continued this Sunday by kind of lamenting all the world events and the strange happenings in the world and the general dismay in it all. Jan shared that you know we have these adult conversations. We should be able to have an adult conversation about politics without being partisan. And she said at National they do strive for that. They talk about a political message in the world because oftentimes life is political, but they're always very careful as best they can to not be partisan. And I think that's something. It's an important lens. I think we can all try to use sometimes a little more often and be aware when we're crossing the line between politics and into partisan politics. Jan shared the general dismay of the story of the break-in at Paul and Nancy Pelosi's home in San Francisco, and she shared that repeated story about how the perpetrator broke into the home and ran through the home screaming, "Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy?" And Jan was generally dismayed by that, but truth be known, as I understand it, and reported in the New York Times, it's simply not true. The perpetrator did not run through the house screaming, "Where's Nancy?" It was simply a political spin story. It was a narrative that somehow found its way into Jan Cope's sermon at Washington National Cathedral. At St. James, they were saying goodbye to Dean Barrington this Sunday, and Dean Barrington greeted those attending the service by welcoming everyone, and he said, whether you've been attending here for much longer than I've been here, or if it's your first Sunday, welcome, but suffice to say, it's a strange Sunday here at St. James, and Dominic did not elaborate on that or explain that it was his last Sunday, and about all the transitions that will be happening at St. James. He simply welcomed everybody as graciously as he could. And as Dean Barrington started his sermon, I thought, this sermon is going to be about how it wasn't his job to fix St. James. And that is pretty much what it is. He shared the idea that we're here to exhibit loving kindness and acts of love and caring for each other, but it's not really not up to us, or it's not our responsibility to fix everything. And sticking around to see through a capital campaign to fix the failing structure of the cathedral building is probably not on Dean Barrington or anyone. It'll run its course and be what it needs to be, with or without any particular individual. Dean Barrington is leaving St. James after 7 years to take a new post at York Minster Cathedral in the UK. And Paula Clark, the Bishop of Chicago, shared a lovely little note of gratitude and thanks to Dean Barrington and pointed out that in his 7 years at St. James, the congregation grew, they had expanded education programs, the choir and music program expanded, and there were ample opportunities for spiritual formation. Dominic wove a narrative and a storyline in a very difficult and challenging time that was encouraging and empowering for the congregation. I think that wherever we are in our storyline, whether we think we know what happened or know what happened or heard about it at coffee hour, I think we're looking for the encouragement, and we are looking for a little humor now and then to brighten and cheer our mood. If you would like to join us at Sunday Coffee Hour is every Sunday at 12 noon Central Time on Zoom, and I will include my email in the description of this video. I'll be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.